Let me know when we're
Okay. I think we're good. At least I hope we're good.
ah.
It looks like we're good.
Oh.
The microphone says that it's picking up, so we're gonna go with it. Professional streamers.
No. I suppose we should also check, can you hear us talking now? Because that's important.
I can see that it's picking up your microphone. You not, you
It's
tiny
gotta be
menace to
good.
society.
Fine then. This is fine. Welcome to Chat 4 of VäkPäker's Guide to TTRPGs. Our sponsor for tonight is Canadian Dice. You can go to canadiandice.ca and use the code TheVoctaire, all one word. And get, I think it's 10% off your order, but it's showing, okay, there we go. 10% off your order. No, it went back to the page. Stop it. I'm reading these announcements. Dag nabbit. It's trying to move me around in the Discord. Maggie's Dice Pick of the Week is Troll's Blood, which, I mean, I can see it on that one, I guess. There have been worse names, let's put it that way. You control your friends with these green and red mixed dice. Also, make sure you check out our merch at tinyurl.com/vacmerch. You can get excellent designs like Half Orc Energy and the Vac Blob. And then this is the last week. Actually, this might be the last day.
It is.
You can sign up to be a DM, GM, storyteller,
Bullshit artist.
etc. Bullshit artist for Spooktober. Artemis will be building the schedule and releasing the list of games tomorrow. No, Monday.
The 21st.
Weekend is the last chance. If you have a game that you want to run, now's the time. Make the call. Sign up. Okay. And finally, for our schedule this week, tomorrow evening, Affy and Artemis will be over on DM Jeremy's channel for Legacy of Fire at 7:30 Eastern. And then we will be back here on Monday for Mistwalkers at 8:30 Eastern. On Tuesday, we're doing a campaign wrap-up for our summer campaign that we did, Bankar Brouhaha. That starts at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And on Wednesday, Affy and Artemis are over on Cantrips and Coffee for the Society. I think Sly's in that too, right? So, and that starts at 9 p.m. Eastern. So check that out. Who's?
Here.
Oh, and Jer is in that. Awesome. And then Thursday we have back here on this channel A Song of Crystal and Shadow at 8:30 p.m. Eastern with DM Sophia. That's our Final Fantasy game. And Friday we're back here with Fixius 5 at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. All right, that's it. That's all I have for announcements. So welcome. Tonight we're going to talk about the next parts of the player's handbook, which are backgrounds and equipment. Lou's along for the ride. You can see him back there cleaning himself on top of the Amazon boxes.
Pasta's running
Pasta's
around.
probably wandering around. Sister's dog is looking out the window longingly, waiting for them to come home.
Poor upper dog.
Tough luck, kid. I'll be back tomorrow. It's fine. We'll be fine.
Like, I'm out.
Oh, fine. Abandon me. Yeah, the next chapter in the book is backgrounds and then like for character creation and then equipment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yes.
like when I create a character, I usually start with my background because your background gives you like those skills that you sort of start with, and then you pick your other skills based off of that. That's how I usually build my characters, anyways.
It's pretty good. Kind of like that actually because anytime you're building a character, it's good to have an idea where they come from.
Hmm.
Even if you don't remember, like, even if your backstory has some kind of memory loss or something, you would have skills that would
Hmm.
be part of that.
I passed out. Speaking of the devil.
Um, I don't know how much we want to get it. Like, it talks about languages in here
Hmm.
and alignment. Alignment isn't as
I don't use alignment really all that
relevant.
much. Like, I use
Yeah,
my only rule for character creation for like my campaigns is no evil alignment. That's like my
yeah,
only rule. The
yeah.
rest of it, I don't care. Like
I think,
I don't use alignment against you really as a player.
yeah,
At least not very often. If I do, it's because an item specifically says that it has to be somebody with a
right.
certain alignment. But
I was gonna say the same thing. Like, some magic items require certain alignments or something. Um, in official books and sometimes things that I make. Um, some require specific classes too, so it just depends
mhm,
on what you got.
yeah, the like prerequisites and stuff for them.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, the first
languages
things
is
that
like, sorry, what was that?
I was gonna say, the first stuff that it talks about is like name, sex, height and weight, gender and
Mhm.
sexual orientation, or like, it's all of that stuff is up to you though.
Yeah,
Really.
and it does give you the option to like randomly roll for stuff too. So like for your height and weight, you can roll for that. Um, I don't think I've ever actually done that.
Yeah.
Like, which is the
I
reason
think I
that
have
for the
either.
longest time I didn't realize that elves are actually shorter than humans.
Yeah. Or
Like,
supposed to be according to the book.
canonically speaking, they're supposed to be shorter than humans.
I think because I always think of them as like these kind of lithe, graceful beings,
Mm-hmm.
I immediately think
Yeah, like
tall.
The Tolkien elves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe that's why.
Dragonborn start out like their base height is 5'6", so I mean that's like as tall as me plus something. So,
Yeah, I think Dragonborn are actually supposed to be quite tall.
mm-hmm. And they are by far the like heaviest in the PHP. So
Yeah.
yeah, it gives you so like just to give you an idea, it gives you like for a human, your base height starts at 4'8", and you can add a height modifier of 2d10. So you would just roll 2d10 and add that to your height. And for your weight, your base weight is 110 pounds, and you can 2d4 add to that. So
Interesting to me that it's got halflings slightly shorter than gnomes, because I always think of gnomes as being shorter. I don't know
right?
why.
I always think, yeah, for some reason, I always think that gnomes, maybe because we all played World of Warcraft and gnomes are freaking tiny in that. Like, they're very small in that. They're the smallest
Big
race, I
fella.
think, in Warcraft. Like, the entire generation of us has that as a reference. So,
It's true. Well, this is not the last VäkPäker's guide. We have too many ideas.
we do. We keep
Too
coming up
many
with
ideas.
more. We're like, oh, we should talk about this. We should talk about this. Let's add it to our massive list already.
Yeah, I think every time we're in here, like, oh, we should talk about, do an episode on this.
Hmm.
Uh, then after the physical characteristics, it kind of gets into alignment. Again, it's
Yeah.
not as relevant in 5e.
Yeah, I feel like it matters more in the older games, like the Dragonlance game that
Yeah.
I did with Jer. I feel like that mattered more there. But
Okay.
I didn't play a lot of the old school D&D. Like I played Dragonlance with Jer when last year, but that was about it. So,
Interesting.
but
I guess it
your
is kind of.
alignment starts like you have it's lawful, neutral, and chaotic, and then there's like good,
Good.
neutral, and evil. And so like you can have it's like a, oh, what are those boxes called? I always forget what those charts are called. There's a specific name for those, and it
Yes.
lays it out, in three rows by 3 rows, and
Yep.
so like, and so sort of to put it in perspective, like a chaotic evil character would be like Joker from the Batman movie with Heath Ledger. That is a chaotic evil character. They want to watch the world burn for no other reason.
Want to watch the world burn. Yep.
Lawful good is like
Paladins.
Technically Superman.
Maybe. Yeah, technically Superman. Someone who follows the rules.
Yeah. They'll follow the laws above all else, and
who is good but very much a rule follower kind of person. And then
I feel like those are actually harder to play than like a chaotic evil character, because you don't have as much freedom to make just any kind of choice when you're that kind of character. Right. Whereas a chaotic evil, you don't give two shits. You're just like, nope, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna push the big red button. And like a true neutral character, I feel like, is also harder to play.
Yes, I think they always talk about like druids are typically, and it even says in the book here, people who like don't take sides, kind of avoid morality questions, just do what seems best in the moment. Yeah.
They list lizard folk, druids.
It is difficult.
Oh, get off my keyboard. You just ran across my keyboard.
I find it interesting that like some of the neutral alignments are really interesting to me. Like, I almost feel like maybe lawful neutral would also be really difficult to do.
Individuals act in accordance with law, tradition, or personal codes. I guess, yeah. I feel like most of my characters fall in lawful neutral, though.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like, well, Key Life for sure falls in lawful neutral, because like her like main ideal. What is going on with your camera?
Me?
Yeah, you're all kinds of fuzzy.
Oh,
I don't know what happened.
I don't know. Probably because of the lighting or something.
I don't know. But you went all
It's
crazy.
just a crappy little built-in laptop camera, so that's probably why.
I don't know. But anyways.
Because there's light behind me and light in front of me.
Could be, yeah. But I feel like Key Life for sure is that kind of character, because her
awful neutral.
Yeah, her like goal is to keep everybody safe and get them out of the domains if she can. Like that is her plan. Is to get them out. And I don't know what Smudge would be. Lawful chaotic. Yeah, chaotic good, probably. She's got the zoomies all the time. She's just a little guy.
I'm trying to think. I mean, character that I have in the Curse of Strahd game that I'm in is started out neutral good, went chaotic neutral, and is now neutral evil.
Okay, but that's Curse of Strahd. That's a bad example.
Curse of Strahd.
That game turns everybody evil.
Yeah. She has died once. She's one of only 2 original party members.
Yeah, that's
been a bad time.
Curse of Strahd is a meat grinder. Like if it's done right, it's a meat grinder.
There are no good decisions. Curse of Strahd. You can't make a good choice. It doesn't matter if you think you're doing the right thing or not.
Excuse me. Don't stick your face in that.
Bad things will happen to you. It's just very bad.
Yeah.
But I think like that's really the only evil character I've ever had.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever played an evil character.
Really?
No, I don't think so. I I'm the type of
Wouldn't have
person when
started
I
out
play
that
video
way.
games, like I play a lot of Mass Effect, and you have the option of playing like Paragon or Renegade, and I have tried to play the Renegade playthrough. Got about halfway through the first game and was like, nope, I can't do it. I can't be this much of an asshole. So like I'll switch over to Paragon.
Yeah. Oh, the dog's growling, which means food must be coming. Um,
Oh.
see?
Matcha is singing the song of their people. Well, Emily goes and gets her food. Uh, let's see. What I know there's a couple of people in chat. What are some of the alignments that your characters have? Like Rick, you're in there. Um, have or have had. What was Alaxin? I don't I don't know if you ever told me what alignment Alaxin was. And also, do you use alignment? Matcha, you sassy baby. Everybody, this is Matcha. Had a good okay. Matcha's like, you've got treats. I want all of the treats. It's not a Voctair stream unless somebody gets interrupted by a pet like 5 or 6 times. So silly Matcha.
Sorry about that.
Came
Are
in here.
you a movie star for a minute?
Yeah.
You a movie
They're
star?
like, everybody loved me. I'm perfect.
How well could you see her?
Like only like her butt and
Typical.
one ear.
Typical matcha.
I miss you explaining. So
Yeah, sorry about that.
alignment is it's basically like a guideline for how you play your player, like how you play your character.
Yes.
It's the way that they would conduct themselves with other people or in society or things like that. So
Yeah.
um
Well, like you have the good and evil part, but lawful and chaotic is more like how much you follow rules, or even not just rules, but like a personal code, anything like that. And then chaotic is just on a whim, the seat of your pants, doing whatever pops into your head in the moment. And so alignments are any combination of those things. I also like to think of some of these as like good and evil parts too, because I don't think for D&D
hydrated.
characters. Was that? Oh, hydrate. Oh, good, because I just got some hot apple cider.
Nice. I can't have that. I would die. I miss being able to have stuff with cinnamon in it.
Yummy. I also think of it because it's hard to be like. Can you think of evil in like a cosmic sense?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to play a normal, just like person as some sort of evil, like a villain, a true villain.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think the like part of the ways that they describe these are almost on a level of like selfishness.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So like evil characters, like lawful evil, you care more about like following the rules to benefit yourself. This is why like devils in D&D are all about contracts,
Yeah.
because they use these contracts to like Oh, yeah, just sell me your soul and I'll give you whatever you want, like, as
Hmm.
long as you sign the contract.
And so like for Liz, it says in the book it actually says alignment is a combination of two factors. One identifies morality, so good, evil, or neutral, and the other describes attitudes towards society and order, so lawful, chaotic, or neutral. So it also says for many thinking creatures, alignment is a moral choice. So it's really like I don't use alignment all that
Yes,
much.
Liz.
I really don't. I don't use alignment that much.
Yeah.
I don't make people roll for their or like make choices based on their alignment or anything like that. Um,
Yeah, because even like, for instance, the question is in here, like, what are your personal alignments? I would say I'm probably lawful good, but that doesn't mean I never do anything selfish. You know, people are people. No one is the same all the time. So
yeah, it's very much like a
saying that
sliding
someone
scale, I
who's,
think.
yeah, saying that someone who's lawful good only ever makes choices in a lawful good way is a little bit of, like, people are more complicated than that.
I have seen people play it that way, but it doesn't make for I feel like as interesting of role play when people do that.
Right.
Or it
Would
can,
agree.
I guess, but you have a tendency. So say you're playing like a lawful good character, and like you're like, I'm not gonna do this because it's gonna break the law or whatever. I feel like that causes friction between the players
Yeah.
sometimes, and I'm very non-confrontational, so like I wouldn't play it that way.
Yeah.
But I have
Well,
seen it done that way.
even like, I mean, I'm sitting here saying, like, me in real life, I'm probably closest to lawful good. But like, I'm not gonna go rob a bank
Right.
or murder somebody.
Hmm.
But I still speed a little.
Doesn't. Uh, Kayla says, in Keisha's current homebrew game, everyone but one person are neutral. The one person is lawful good. I like the
Oh,
idea that you can change your character's alignment based on story and actions. Yes, I love that too
yeah,
about character choices and stuff like that, leading
yeah.
to
Oh,
how your character sees the world and acts in the world.
yeah. And again, like, the things that happen to you change who you are.
Yeah, exactly,
You know?
1,000%. That happens in real life. Like
Yeah.
you are
If
the
you don't,
product of your raising.
yeah. Well, and like, if you don't have money to buy food, making the moral decision to steal stuff becomes a lot easier because you have to eat.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah, for sure.
So the circumstances can change a lot about who you are.
Yes. Exactly. And there's that saying that everybody has a price
Mhm.
for what will cause them to do something that you wouldn't necessarily think they would do.
Yeah, which I think is very true.
Oh,
um.
everything went down for a second, but we're good. Okay.
Oh. Oh
We're
no.
good. Yeah, I don't know. Alignment is one of those things that old school players are very like adamant about alignment being a thing, but I don't know. I feel like in 5e it has less of a place. Most people
Yeah.
are sort of like they go back and forth between
Yeah.
alignments.
I think it's a good.
Baseline.
Yeah, or like a guide for how to play your character, especially if you're not used to role playing games, or um, if you are playing against your own personal
Hmm.
who you are.
Yeah.
If you're playing a different type of person, and having those alignments in there to help guide you on like how someone would make decisions, that makes perfect sense to me. Um, yeah, it's not like rule you have to follow.
Yeah.
So
Uh, yeah. I mean,
Not all paladins have to be lawful good anymore, folks.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's
Be all
Oath of
sorts of
Vengeance
kind of.
paladins, and those are played like I've seen those played like the Punisher.
Yeah.
Like the Punisher in comics would definitely be an Oath of Vengeance paladin.
Mm-hmm. I believe that's what Vax was in
An Oath of Vengeance, yeah.
Critical
I
Role.
think so. Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, I don't know. Alignment is one of those things that like if your DM is like adamant about it, great. If not, also great. You know,
and
it's kind of like
it's fun to use for memes.
yeah, it is.
Whatever
uh,
those like you were talking about earlier,
yeah,
the
there is a specific
squares of
name for those
9.
box, but I don't remember what they're
Yeah.
called.
Um, and being like, oh, I line up the most with this character, so this makes sense to me, or those
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Yeah, for sure.
there are like I will say also it talks a little bit about how alignment can work in because the worlds of like D&D, a lot of them are multiversal worlds and you have planes that are dedicated to certain moral ideals. So
Mhm.
like the 9 hells are a lawful evil place.
Yep.
Um and that's where you can go to expect to find like contracts and things
Yep.
like,
Devils and
making
demons and
kind of dealings.
things like that. And in Fixius,
Yeah.
you guys are dealing a lot with the plane of law. Like Ram's character was built in
Yep.
the plane of law, and learning like that when they came out of that plane, when the Warforged came out of the plane of law, that's when they began to change, and
Yeah.
that sort of goes along with that sliding scale of like how they change depending on where they are. So
Yeah. Um, Next kind of section that the book goes into is a little bit about languages.
there's 80 million languages in D&D.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
The ones that are covered in the book are the ones that align with like character choices
Mm-hmm.
most often, although giant is also an option in there, which I don't
Yeah.
think
So
there
like you
are.
have your standard ones. Like obviously common is the like base language for everybody. It's the universal language for everyone. But then there's also like dwarvish, elvish, giant, gnomish, halfling, orc, you know, stuff like that. And then
Yeah.
you have what's called exotic languages, which is like abyssal, celestial, deep speech, draconic. I wouldn't put draconic as exotic. I would put it as like normal because you have dragonborn.
Yeah, although yeah,
I feel like I would put it as a standard language, but
maybe, but I would all I don't know, that's tricky for me too because I feel like cuz draconic is arcane language most typically.
yeah, it's the one
I
most
wonder if
associated with like
they're
arcane runes, I think.
right. I wonder if maybe that's their thinking in putting it in the
Yeah.
more exotic category.
My favorite exotic
Um,
language to take is primordial because nobody ever uses it.
I love primordial as
I do
well.
too. I
It's
make good character
elementals,
choices.
y'all. Um,
Keylight speaks
Undercommon is
celestial.
also a favorite of mine.
Yep.
I love Undercommon.
Keylight speaks celestial because she was born in Mount Celestia. So
Nice.
um
But
I
yeah,
think
as far
Smudge
as
speaks primordial.
think isn't there maybe they don't talk about it here, but like
There's four different kinds of primordial. There's four different dialects of primordial. There's
yeah,
Orin, which
yes,
is like the language of the birds. It's the air language. There is what Terran or something like that, which is earth
yep,
elemental,
which is Earth,
and then
Ignin and
Ignis is
Aquan.
fire. Yep.
Air. Aquan is water.
Yep.
And there but it does say those are more like dialects where
Yes.
it's almost like I knew some folks at one point that were from Switzerland and they spoke Swiss German and there were some German people there as well, and they could speak to one another using their own language. Just sounded different. And like I spoke German in high school, so like I could not understand the Swiss German folks except for like every few words or something. But
Mhm.
like the German woman could understand the Swiss folks that were speaking Swiss German.
Yeah.
It's
So
interesting.
it's like us with like people from the South,
Yeah.
or like
Or even like British people, they have a different vernacular, but you can still
yes.
understand.
Hmm. Well, even talking to Canadians, which are basically like
Yeah,
we obviously talk to a lot of Canadians. There are a lot of them in the VäkPäker,
you do.
and just the differences. So like hanging out with Affy as much as I do, I have started spelling things weird. I say washroom
Oh yeah.
instead of bathroom. Like it's great. Like
Yeah. Uh, is it toque or beanie,
yep.
depending on
I that took me
where you're
forever to
from?
figure out that those were the same thing. That when she was talking about a toque, she actually meant her beanie. So,
Yeah.
which I thought was
There's
funny. I was like, oh, that's
languages
what
are
that
fascinating,
means.
and making fantasy
So
languages is just as fascinating as regular
yeah,
ones,
exactly.
as
Yep.
real ones.
I like
um,
in the handbook that it gives you the different like language samples for like Dwarvish,
yeah.
Elvish, and Draconic, because I'm the nerd who learned how to write in Orabesh when I was young, so like I can write in Star Wars language because I'm that kid. So
I tried to learn to write the like Elvish script from Tolkien, so right
oh
there
okay,
with you.
yep. There's this person on
um,
TikTok that does that like all the time, and it's really cool to watch. Like,
ooh. Well, and if you're a DM and you're playing in an in-person game,
hmm,
you can
it's
make
fun to give
props.
people, yeah, it's fun to give people props that are in another, like that are in a different language. Or I've seen the ones where people write it in the invisible ink that you have to like heat up
Oh
in
yeah,
order to see. That's cool too.
yeah. Or like use a black light or something. Love that too.
Hanging out with so Liz says hanging out with so many Americans is having the same effect on me. So yes.
No, but well, yeah, I've had that same thing happen to me in the UK, Liz. Like, I was there for a summer once, and when I came back, it was all I could do from to keep from using the word queue instead of line. I had said queue so much throughout the summer
Hmm.
that I just
Kept
I
saying it.
wanted to say it.
Yeah. Yep. Or, and what did Kayla say?
Ooh.
A cool language mechanic would be if you rolled a percentile dice to determine how
Oh,
well you actually know a language, like how proficient you are. Okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that.
it's very cool.
If you speak it really well, or if you just know a few words. Yes, for sure. That's
Yeah.
cool. I like that.
It's interesting also because they don't really list them in this list of languages, I don't think, but there are a couple other character languages that are not listed here in the language section that have to do with either your class or your background choices. So, like, if you have a criminal background or if you're a rogue, you probably know Thieves' Cant. And if you're a druid, you know Druidic.
Yes.
They don't have
Which
them listed here. I wonder why.
isn't so. If I remember correctly, Druidic in this isn't actually like a. It's not like a language. It's like symbols or
Right.
something. And same
Yeah.
thing with Thieves' Cant. Thieves' Cant is like, so if you've ever played Skyrim, which most of us have because we're all nerds, Thieves' Cant is actually in Skyrim. They use it for shadow marks. They call them shadow marks for the Thieves Guild.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's like code. It's writing in code,
Pretty much,
basically.
yeah.
Like the delivery is here and draw three
Yes.
marks on the
Or this is a
mailbox
safe
or whatever.
place or anything
Yeah.
like that. So,
Very interesting. Love it.
then they talk about personality traits, um,
Yeah.
like your ideals, your bonds, your flaws. So those are
Which,
three things that are on your character sheet, like on a standard D&D
yeah.
character sheet. They give you, so like it's just to sort of help you build your backstory. like your bond is like, say, a mentor. Say like if you were a monk or something, it would be somebody who taught you, like the like shred what is it Shredder? Yeah. Splinter.
Yeah.
Splinter with the
Yeah.
four turtles. Like he would be the mentor. Like that would be a bond. Or, you know, just literally anybody. You look at any kind of movie that's got like the young upcoming star and their mentor, like that obviously is a bond. Or like Star Wars, like Luke, he lost his family, that kind of thing. And it
Yeah.
gives you a jumping off point for
Well,
your character. And then you obviously ideals. What
is
what do you
important to
follow?
you.
What makes
Yeah.
your character do what they do? And then flaws, obviously, because everybody's got them.
Yep.
Are you a drunk? Are you any number of things? You know, do you pick your nose in
And,
public?
a lot of these too, it's interesting because there are, hey, if you're not sure, each background has like tables you can roll on or choose from to help you decide. And you can also just make up your own. Like, I think it's usually 2 ideals, bond and a
Yeah, I think
awe,
so.
or something like that.
Man, you're
Um,
not a mountain goat.
like
Can you stop?
the backgrounds that you choose for your character that kind of explain where they come from,
A
those
lot of times
have
they
some of
give
those
you,
built in
yes, and we'll
options.
talk about that
Yeah.
in just a second when we switch to the background section. But yeah, yeah, for sure. Um,
Actually, I think next it talks about inspiration. So you can get inspiration from a DM. I have
if they
not done that
remember,
very often. Yeah.
if they
I know,
remember,
because
I'm a terrible DM and I forget. So
you give us one at the beginning of every session. I forget that
yes,
I have it as a player.
yeah, I do too all the time. Like
Um,
Affy gives it out like candy, and I forget about it all the time.
yeah.
Like,
I never give it out until someone says something. If I always forget that that's an option.
mhm, which basically gives you
Um,
like a reroll. So
yeah. I think thing that trips me up with that too is in the game, mechanically, you already have bardic inspiration, which is a different thing.
yeah,
It uses a different die.
yep. Whereas
So if
like
you have like
GM
any bards or
inspiration,
maybe 2 bards in your
yep,
games, and then you also use DM inspiration,
it can get confusing.
it can
Yeah.
be confusing.
So it GM inspiration is used for an attack roll, saving throw, or ability check. Basically, just means you can re-roll that, and then it's like advantage. Um,
And I
yeah.
think you can choose to use it after you fail a roll if it's an important roll to you.
As long as the DM hasn't said whether or not it fails.
Right.
So like if you're quick enough, you can say that. Um, and it also says that when another player
Oh,
does something that really contributes to the story in a fun and interesting way, you can give up your inspiration to give that character inspiration. So
that's interesting.
you
I
can
mean,
give your inspirations to each
I've
other.
always I don't use it very much, so I haven't used it very much. But if someone says they would want to do that, I usually am like, yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right.
All
So
right.
we'll kind of go into backgrounds. We won't get like super into backgrounds because there's a lot here, but
There's a lot.
we'll kind of go
There's
through one,
13
and they
backgrounds.
basically all is like rinse and repeat from there.
Yeah.
So, but
There
basically they
are
give you
13
like skill
options in the book.
proficiencies. Is it 13? You said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
13, and then a couple of them have like variant examples for how you can change it to do something else or give you different kind of equipment.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And there's 13 in this book, but there's backgrounds in like all of them.
Yeah.
Like every
Especially
book that's
like,
ever been released, there's new backgrounds in.
yeah,
So,
there's any adventure modules that you buy usually have a background or two that come with them, especially if they're set in a specific kind of place. Like I
Mhm.
think Ghosts of Saltmarsh, even though it's
Yeah.
an anthology book, still has backgrounds in it.
Yes, because that's
Have
where
to do with like
sailor came from, I
coastal,
think. Like there's a specific
yeah,
kind of sailor that goes with that one.
yeah, or I think there's like fishermen or
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
fisher, yeah,
A lot of water-based things. But
yeah,
basically so when you're creating a character, what you kind of want to do is you want to pick your background first because it will give you your proficiencies that you start with. And then when you're picking your proficiencies with your class, you're not doubling up.
yeah.
So that's at least that's the way I do it.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it too.
I usually start that way. So but for like so the first one in the book is acolyte. So this one is good for if you're a cleric, basically
Monk,
monk, yep,
pretty
monk.
good for.
Um
Um, it basically means you have served some sort of religious, uh,
yeah,
in a temple, a god, pantheon of gods. It says,
yes. And then so like it gives you your skill proficiency. So for an acolyte, they get a proficiency in insight and religion, which would make sense because a lot of times they're holy people. And two, you get to pick two languages of your choice. Some backgrounds they give you no extra languages. Some they give you one. This one gives you two. I think there's one that gives you three. I think there's one
maybe
background that gives
sage.
you three. But and then they give you like what's called your starting equipment, sort of your base equipment that comes from that. So for an acolyte, they get their holy symbol, which for Keli is her symbol that is from her son. And
Oh,
because her son apparently became a god, which I didn't know until we got playing. And then after he was like, "Oh, here, by the way, your kid's a god," and I'm like, "Oh, great! I can't wait for that to come back and bite me in the ass." So, but
okay.
like, if you're a druid, it can be like your staff, or I've seen it as like a sprig of holly, or any number of things. Um, they also give you a prayer book or prayer wheel, depending. 5 sticks of incense, your vestments, which is like your holy garments, um, a set of common clothes, and a pouch containing 15 gold. That's just like base that you get starting with that. You get more starting equipment as you like are making your character, but that's just what you start with. So you just can automatically add that to your sheet. And then they go
Um,
into like features of the background too.
yeah, which is something that I often forget about, but
Me
they
too.
actually can be quite handy. Like, so every
Mhm.
background has a feature, like a feat that you can use to help the group. Um, one of the ones that I actually had eventually remembered to use was for my cleric that was a Tempest cleric. She had the Outlander background, and it basically lets you like understand maps
Mhm.
really well. And so when you
And it's
are,
harder for you to get lost, I think.
yeah, like when you're traveling, you have such a good mind for maps and geography that you can really read the terrain, find settlements, and you can find like food and fresh water for your group every day,
Yeah, really easy.
basically.
Which, if you're a DM that tracks that kind of thing, then that really can matter. Otherwise, it can be used for like role playing things too. Like Fixius and Mistwalkers do a lot of like they're called downtime activities, and
Yeah.
that's like when we're on watch or something like that. That's what a lot of times we'll use those things for, like finding food and whatever. Um,
And I know Maggie uses their uh, courtesan background a lot
yeah, their
in
courtier feature.
Fixius.
Yep.
Um, so yeah. Very
So just
helpful in
as an
social
example,
situations.
exactly. Yep. So for the example that they give you for acolyte is shelter of the faithful. So as an acolyte, you command the respect of those that you share your faith with. This, I believe, this gives you like the ability to find shelter for the night for
Yeah, you
free.
can like stay in a temple or
Yeah.
um even get like food and water when you're traveling through a place.
Yeah, you and your
Like
adventuring
an
companions can
offering.
expect to receive free healing and care at a temple, shrine, or other established presence of your faith. Though you must provide any material components. So, like, say you need to revivify or whatever, or
Right.
resurrection, you have to provide the diamonds for
Right.
it.
You may also have a residence there. So like the temple where you served at or something.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, you may still be able to go back there and live. I know. I don't think. I don't think Bo had the acolyte background in campaign 2 of Critical Role, but like Bo had a place to live at the Cobalt
The Cobalt
Soul.
Soul. Yep.
Um, and like Deuce's home was a temple basically.
Yep.
So stuff like that.
And like Karini's home too is kind of their safe place,
Yeah.
and also the house that you guys have, you literally cast a spell to make it a safe
Yeah,
place,
exactly.
which just might
It's
be
true.
its saving grace while it's under siege at the moment. Keeps everybody out of there.
Unfortunately.
Um, and then it gives you like suggested characteristics. So this is where we were talking about like your personality traits
Yep.
and stuff like that. It gives you a chart that you can roll on. Say like if you're stuck on like you don't know what you want your character to be like. So you can roll for like personality, it's a D8. You roll a D8 and say you roll like a 5. And it says I quote or misquote sacred texts and proverbs in almost every situation. So you're basically just spouting religious stuff all the time. Like gives you options
Yeah.
like that. Same goes for your ideal, your bond, and your flaw. It gives you options that you can roll for if you can't decide yourself what
Yeah.
those things are.
This is another instance where like your alignment can be a good guide because a lot of these examples that they give that you can choose from align with certain things. So like the
Mhm.
ideals section, the first one says tradition, the ancient traditions of worship and sacrifice must be preserved and upheld. And in parentheses, it says lawful. So if your character is lawful good, that might be something that you consider more than the chaotic one, which is number 3. That's it says we must help bring about the changes the gods are constantly working in the world. You're more about tradition. You're more about like if you're lawful, that might be an ideal that you hold.
Yep.
And there are some that say any as well. Also, again, you can make up your own.
Hmm.
Feel free.
Yeah, I feel like a
I've done
lot of
that
people do
before.
that where they make up their own,
Yeah,
and I have seen it where people like just random roll and then they play their character that way. Like there's
yeah,
something to be said about just random rolling a character like from start to
yeah,
finish. I've done that where like there's a chart that you have where it's got like you roll like a d20 for your race. You roll a d12 for your alignment. You roll a d10 or something like that for your alignment. You roll a
yeah,
d12 for your um like your ideals and stuff like that. You just like it's great. And then
yeah.
you just roll through. You pick your background and you random roll for that too, and that gives you your personality, and you're just like,
Yep. Your history.
that's
I
what I
do
did
also
for
like
the one shot you did at GaryCon. That's what I did. That's what Sin was. Sin was
oh,
random roll from start to beginning, or start to
really?
finish was random roll. Yep.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, and she was
That's
pretty
fun.
cool. So,
I was gonna say it also does tell you at the beginning of this background section
mhm,
how you can kind of make your own background where like and there is kind of a layout like you have skill proficiencies.
mhm,
You choose 2 skills. choose 2 tools or languages or a combination of either of those things. And then you choose like an equipment package from your background, or you can buy gear.
Yeah, which we'll talk about when we get to the
Yeah, which
next
is the
section.
next section.
But basically, all of the backgrounds work the same way. They give you the feature, they give you the proficiencies, the equipment, the languages, and then they give you the random roll charts for everything else. They basically are all the same. There's a couple of differences with like, I think, is it entertainer's got the weird one? Yeah, so that's got a variant where you if so like say you're a bard and you want to be a gladiator bard, which I think is a really cool idea. I don't know how well it works in practice, but I think it's cool because like that would work really well for a fighter. Like the gladiator feat would work very well for a fighter.
Yeah.
So,
Or like a charisma-based rogue, where
yeah,
like the swashbuckler type,
yes.
where you just have a high
Han
charisma,
Solo.
you're good at putting on a show. Yeah,
Literally Han
yeah,
Solo.
exactly. I don't like it. You're good at combat, but you're good at working a crowd too.
Yep,
Love it.
exactly. But yeah, they basically all work the same. So,
It's
yeah,
just a matter of
Eli's
what you
background
like.
is a soldier. That's right. Keeli's background is actually a soldier because she's a cleric, but she's a war domain cleric, so I went with soldier for the background.
I think
So,
Rainy is hermit.
yeah, that would make sense because she grew up in a basically she's a homeschool kid.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is it. It's like the community that she comes from is secluded.
Yes, very secluded.
Isolated. Yeah. I do like all of these. We were just talking about before we started that there are many that neither like that we haven't played. I
Mm-hmm.
have a tendency to gravitate towards like Hermit, Outlander,
Yeah. Out
Sage.
Outlander is definitely my favorite. Outlander and Sage, I think, are my two
Kind of like
favorites.
that the Outlander. I feel like the Outlander one is pretty
Versatile.
versatile.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had the Outlander trait as a cleric, as a Tempest cleric, but my dad's barbarian character was also an Outlander.
Oh, okay,
Um,
yeah, and you can play them
he
different
had
ways
a set
too.
of bagpipes because
That's
one of the tool
amazing.
proficiencies you get is a musical instrument, so he
Yep,
had bagpipes. Cool.
that's
I
awesome.
don't know. I just
I'm
kind
here
of
for
I
it.
like would be fun to like play something out of your wheelhouse though. Like I'd love to try and find way to do like a guild artisan.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a fun one. Like you're basically like a merchant
Mm-hmm.
essentially,
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
trying to figure out how that would work. Like how did you become an adventurer from
Right.
being
A, s-
a
a simple shopkeep.
shopkeep? Interesting.
Yeah, that one
Yeah,
would be cool
some
to
I
explore.
when I feel like is a little less flexible, but you could also do some weird things with it. Noble is kind of the same. Like, why would a noble leave? But you can come
Noble,
up
I've
with that.
seen used a lot for paladins.
Oh, interesting.
I've seen that used a lot in paladins because a lot of times, so like
Yeah.
historically, if you had armor and a sword, you were well
Mm,
off. Like you had money. So it would make
yeah.
sense that you were a noble
Yeah.
or like
Does make
clerics
sense.
too. They I've seen that um Keela is the first soldier background that I've ever played with
Interesting.
my character. But I did that I did that as like my idea. So this is how we started with this conversation. Was like I was like, all right, Affy, go with me on this. I want to bring somebody from my game to your game. And she's like, all right, bet. How are we going to do that? So,
It's pretty great. Honestly, it's pretty great. I
and
think character
yeah,
creation is so much fun.
it is.
Like,
I love making characters.
it's one of my favorite things to do personally. And so,
It's what you do when you're bored. It's fine. You know, you're just like, all right, I'm
making
going to
a
roll up a
character.
character. See what kind of crazy combo I can come up with.
I have so many characters here that I have never played. Only played for a one shot. I just save them all.
Yeah. I don't make characters anymore like I used to, but I don't
Oh,
but that's because like so if Keelai dies, I don't have a backup character for her for that game. Like I don't have a backup character for Mistwalkers, which I probably should because let's be real, Keelai's almost died twice now. Like she got away because of a technicality both times. One
wait,
time
what's the technicality?
so the first time around we did the math wrong. Like we were
Oh,
fighting a vampire and the vampire like did the life drain
hmm.
and we thought that I only had 19 hit points left, but I had 24. And so I it thought like I we had thought that she had been reduced to 0. And when that happens, you just die.
Just die. Yeah,
There's no
your max
saving
is reduced.
throws, no nothing. Yeah, it reduces your max hit points. And we thought her max hit points was 0. And then Affy and I both checked the math real quick and we're like, wait, no, wait, she's still got 3 hit points. She's still got 3 hit points. So,
3. And
yep. Like she had a maximum
that's
of
when you're
3 hit
like,
points.
I
That's
disengage and I leave. I run
yeah.
away. Good luck with this fight.
So yeah, it was bad. And then the second time we were fighting this like so in campaign 2 of Critical Role, you know the Morcath that they fought? We were fighting one of those. And
Gosh.
it got a hold of Keelai and basically just dropped her to 0 and I failed a death save. Like when you take damage, you fail 2 death saves. And
Sure.
then I failed my last death save. So I thought she was dead, but I had an inspiration. So yep. I was like, that's twice now that this girl has almost died. There's no way she gets away with this a third time.
It's
Like
rough.
the next time she's just dead. So which would be interesting because like my character and Cedar's character are so closely tied together. Like his
Mhm.
character would be very, very affected by Keelai dying. So
Yes.
that would be interesting from a roleplay like
Be
aspect.
that.
But also I'm kind of attached to Keelai. I love her. She's just a hot mess. And and then if I recall, chat went berserk trying to keep Keelai alive.
Oh,
So yeah, it was pretty great. It was a very stressful night.
I don't know. None of my streamed campaign characters have died.
I mean, I could fix
Um,
that.
no, that's okay. I've died a lot in one shots,
Yes, Jeremy
streamed
has
and
killed you.
otherwise.
Jeremy's killed you like 4 times.
The the very first streamed game I ever played in, there was a month. It was like International Women's Month, and this amazing fellow who is, I think, uh, out in LA now, trying to become an actor.
Nice.
Um, he's on Instagram as NPC Voices. Go check him out. He's great.
Oh,
He was running a whole
I know that guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was running a whole month of games where like every cast member was a woman, and so I was in a game with some very wonderful people, and I was playing a fighter, which I wasn't really used to. I think it was like an Eldritch Knight or something like that. And the terrain that we were in was like really icy, and my character got hurt by the terrain a little bit and taken damage. And we didn't have a healer. Well, I think we had a ranger in the group, but like Rangers have fewer spells. I think we were only like level 5 or something like that.
Mm.
So we get to the final boss room. Initiative gets rolled, and I rolled poorly. I was still already like down hit points from flying through icy tunnels and knocking into stuff. I get hit by the boss we're fighting, which I believe was like a young Remoraz
Okay.
or something, and immediately get knocked down to 0. And I either took more damage or I failed one, and then I rolled a nat 1.
Oh no.
And I I just died. I didn't even get to fight in the boss fight. And he felt so bad, but it was so funny. And the other two, because there were only 3 players,
Hmm.
the other two managed to actually like win the fight despite the fact that I was
Dead.
gone. Like,
Yep.
oh, it was so funny. That was a fun game.
That's great. Well,
Yeah,
should we talk about equipment? Like,
do it.
all right.
Equipment time, y'all.
So there's a couple of different ways that you can do equipment. My personal favorite is rolling for wealth and then buying random crap because for story reasons, you know?
Yeah,
Like we were talking about this with Affy last night where like a lot of her characters have soap on them. I'm also one of those people that will buy soap for my character just because you never know. And
I like the ball bearings still.
yes, the ball bearings are amazing. It's a bag of 1,000 ball bearings. But the way that they break it
I
down
know
in
you
the
only
in
get
the
one.
book is so your class depends on, or your class is what determines how much starting wealth you have. So like if you're a barbarian, you're gonna roll 2d4 and times that by 10. So like you could start anywhere from like 80 gold to what, 20,
Yeah.
depending. So it's a bit more of a gamble that way, but you still can manage pretty well. Most
Yeah.
like the average is pretty good for the rolls.
See who makes the most money. Bards, clerics, fighters, interesting.
Paladins.
Paladins, rangers. Ah,
Yeah, because they make
very interesting.
5d4 times 10. So, yeah.
I think monks have the least
Yes,
because they don't get
5d4.
to do anything times 10. It's just 5d4.
Yep.
The most they could get is 20 gold pieces.
Hmm. That's if they're lucky.
Which I
Which
guess
is
if a barbarian rolled really poorly, they could also have just 20
20.
gold pieces.
Yep. And
And
then,
druids also.
yep, druids. Um, and then they go through and they break down the coinage for you, like
Yeah.
how many coppers to a silver, how many silvers to a gold. We don't talk about electrum because nobody uses electrum.
Stupid and no one should use it.
They talk about gold and platinum. Um, yeah.
This is one instance in which, actually, there are many instances in which I will say, any kind of way you can make a metric system is a
Mm-hmm.
good idea.
Yep. Exactly.
Especially when you're talking about coins. If you're playing with um, encumbrance,
Yeah. Which
good to
I
know
don't
how many
do.
you have of each.
Yeah. I don't do that in my game. Like I just say don't be stupid. Like you're not going to be carrying around a dragon skull. Like unless you're Ram and you have a bag of holding, which case you can carry a little bit more crap with you. But still be practical about it.
Yeah.
So, um
It goes into a little bit about like how to sell treasure.
mhm. Which I think you get
Um,
like what half the item is worth.
which to me is silly. I mean, I guess it's used.
Mhm.
Like, if a sword is a good sword, I don't know. To me, it's more like it makes more sense with things that would get beaten up more, like armor or shields.
Yep.
Like, if a sword is well made and it's kept sharp and it's like covered in gold and shit, it would still be worth a lot.
Yeah, interesting enough,
Same
they
with
say
like
that
jewelry.
like trade goods are the one thing that retain their full value.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So like things you would use in a barter system.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I do understand for like gems and jewelry and things like that, that it could be difficult to find a buyer in certain places. Like,
Yeah.
if you go into little podunk town, nobody's buying your bag of gems.
Right.
This is a farming town, unless you're Claude, and then Claude has other reasons.
Exactly.
Which maybe we'll talk about on Tuesday. But yeah, like little farming village where people are just scraping by on the food they grow in their own backyard. You're not selling like
Thousand.
1,000 gold piece necklace of stars or like whatever the heck it's called.
Yeah.
Magic items. No one they'd be like, "Do you have any food?
Yeah.
Because we'll buy food from you." But I don't have any use for that.
Yeah. Exactly. Because your average like person isn't gonna take that go to another town just to get rid of it themselves. Like that's not. It's like in Skyrim when you're trying to like sell all of the random crap that you pick up, and the shopkeep just doesn't have the gold for it anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's
Or
not
like,
happening.
I think I've seen it both in shows, but also like I've had it happen in games that I've been in where it's like if you go back to the same shopkeep at like a magic item shop, especially, like maybe your DM is generous enough to be like, you can buy magic items at this place, like Gilmore's Glorious Goods or
Mhm.
whatever.
Yep.
If you go back in the same instance, or if you like buy them out and then
Yeah.
go back a week later,
They're
there's
not
not
gonna
going to be
have.
anything there.
Yeah. They got to rebuild their
You're not going to
stock
find it.
back up. So.
Yep. So stuff like that that makes sense. I think
Hmm.
that's interesting.
Yep. Then they start to talk about like armor and shields.
Oh yeah. Okay. So
One of
I love
the biggest
I love
complaints
getting
that I ever heard from Jeremy about Pathfinder was that clerics don't get armor. It was like he was so mad about that when he found out.
This is in second edition Pathfinder that he was talking.
Hmm. Yep.
They've been playing. Wow.
Yeah.
Clerics don't get any armor.
Nope.
They're a spellcaster.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yep. So
That's
it's
interesting.
kind of weird, but
Yeah.
so they go in and explain about your armor proficiency, which we all call our AC. It's like what it takes for an enemy to hit you. So like Keeli's AC I think is 17 because she's wearing
Mm,
scale mail and her dex is high enough. So
yeah.
that's what it takes to hit her. Um
I think.
there's
Oh.
heavy armor, light armor, medium armor, um and then it tells you what affects like if you're wearing heavy armor it affects your stealth rolls. You're not
Right.
sneaky. Sad, like we always say,
And
sad plate mail noises.
you might also have to have a certain level of strength to wear some of those.
Yes. Hmm. Some of the like heavier stuff,
Like
like
you're not going to be able to wear full plate if you have a -1 modifier to your strength.
yep, chain mail, splint mail, and plate mail. You have to be able to you have to have a certain strength to wear.
Yeah.
And then it breaks it down into like light armor, which is padded leather and studded. um Those use your dex modifier to give you your AC. So it gives you like a base stat. So like leather armor is 11 plus whatever
Yeah.
your dex modifier is. And that's your AC.
Oh, here's what I don't understand.
Okay.
Why does padded armor give you disadvantage on stealth? Isn't it just like
Hmm.
thick cloth?
That's a good question. I don't know. I would look it up,
Quilting.
but my
It's like
computer's
quilting,
gonna
right?
like Yeah, my computer's gonna freeze if I try to look it up. So
Phone.
let's not
Somebody
mess up
Google it. Yeah.
stream.
Find out why padded armor is at a disadvantage. Oh, wait. Yeah. Wilted layers of cloth and batting. Why is it disadvantaged stealth? Especially because it
Looking right now.
says light armor favors agile adventurers since it offers some protection without sacrificing mobility. Why is I don't understand. Don't
You'd
get it.
use padded if you couldn't get leather. Assuming. Okay, but why does it give? Oh, because it makes it hard to move. It affects your dexterity. I guess I wouldn't have thought of it that way. Apparently, padded armor it makes it hard to move.
Huh.
So I don't know.
And why? I'm confused because it says light armor favors agile adventurers.
Liz is saying hi to Lou.
Bet.
He's back on his box.
That's Lou.
He's like a baby.
It's short for, I'll never say it right. I think it was Lolual is his actual name, which means moonlight in Pular.
Aw. He's a good baby.
He's a good boy.
Yes.
He's up there. Keep him watch over
So,
the
like
prime
to me,
packages.
padded armor to me would be a gambeson, like what Geralt wears in the beginning of The Witcher.
Oh.
Like that's what I would assume that is. Like it's like padded material.
I mean, yeah, I guess it'd be like if you're wearing thick padded cloth, would inhibit you to some degree. But if you're wearing thick leather, it also would inhibit your movement. So I guess I'm just a little
Yeah, I don't know.
don't understand.
But and then so like
Well,
that's
makes
like
you
the
never
lowest
want to.
level of armor you can get in like apart from wearing no armor at all, which barbarians I think do, and monks also don't wear armor. And is it
Then
warlocks?
like
No,
wizards,
warlocks, wizards. Yeah, I knew there was a
sorcerers.
spellcaster. But leather is the next one. That's like breastplate and shoulders that are made of leather. Um, Studded leather. Ooh,
Which isn't a thing in real life, turns out.
thank you for the follow, exiled stylist. That scared the crap out of me. I forgot the alerts were on.
Oh,
I was like, ooh, what's that? Oh,
it
they're
was big
bots.
in ancient Greece if you couldn't afford bronze armor. Oh, good.
They're bots. Okay, wait.
Exiled for a reason.
Let's see. I don't remember how to do that on this screen. Rick,
Bye.
will you make the bot go away? I don't remember how to do that on this screen.
I think there's a way to report them, isn't there?
There is. I just don't. Oh, there it is. No, that's not it.
Report. Bam. Scam. Or bot. Sure, it's a bot.
Rick is a mod. He should be able to do this. It's different on this, like on the screen that I'm on. It's different than it is that, like, if I'm actually in Twitch. So, but yeah.
Fuck this user. Anyway. Hey, screw you, exiled stylist. Next, we're talking hey, you know what? We're getting bots. We must be going places.
Right? We're obviously on somebody's list here. Anyways, I don't know. But
Um, Studded leather looks cool, but isn't real armor from real life. I find interesting.
Really?
Yeah, and I believe actually, this I might be like making up a memory that didn't really happen. I think someone did like a Mythbuster type thing to talk about studded armor because basically, if you're putting studs in the leather, you are weakening it. And so studded
Oh,
leather
okay.
armor, if it existed for real, would come
Would have.
apart more easily.
Okay.
Interesting. I mean, it's a cool idea. The next level up is medium armor. I think many classes allow medium armor. I know druids can wear medium armor, but also sometimes it depends. Like your subclass might determine it. Like since my cleric is a peace domain cleric that's in Fixius 5, uh, she can only wear medium armor. But my Tempest cleric from the last time I played a cleric could wear heavy armor
Yeah, Keeley
because it was
wears scale mail,
part of her subclass.
which I think counts as
Where,
that's medium. So yeah, Keeley wears
mm-hmm.
scale mail.
Think my Tempest cleric wore like by the end of it she was wearing mithril chainmail.
That's awesome. I think actually in Legacy of Fire, I think we just found some of that.
Oh, nice. Rainy has a breastplate.
Pretty sure that Bingo is wearing it. But
Um,
yeah.
medium armor gives you more protection. You can still add your dex modifier up to 2. You can't add more than 2
Yep.
for medium armor. And things like scale mail and half plate usually give advantage on stealth check because they make more noise.
Hmm.
Metal stuff clanking together. We'll also say I think druids might have the ability to wear medium armor, but because there's the whole thing with like, I mean, again, it's up to your DM's discretion. Supposedly, they're not allowed to wear metal armor. Um, hide is a good option because it gives you a better oomph from like just regular leather armor.
Yeah. Yep. Ooh, I have to look at Keely's armor class because I think it's wrong.
Oh,
I have to look at that. Oops.
why? You said you have scale mail?
Yeah, and I think her AC is 17. It should only be 16.
At a +1 armor? Do you have like a shield or a
Oh, I do have a
um,
shield. Yep, never
ring of
mind. That's right.
protection or
I
something?
have shield. Yep, I have a shield.
Well, then it should be higher.
Yep,
The shield
makes
gives you
sense.
+2.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, unless you have a +1 dex mod.
I don't know.
All this
I'd
to
have to look.
say,
I'd have to look. I'd have to actually look at her character sheet. But yeah.
this probably sounds all confusing. There's some calculations that go into determining your armor class, depending on what kind of armor you're wearing, kind of dexterity you have, and what other equipment that you might have that could add to that.
Yep.
Your armor
And it
class
also
can
gives you a
include
gold
that.
cost in here too of what it is. So like say you're buying some, like if you start from one type of armor and you want to move up to another, it gives you a gold cost in there, which is nice. So you kind of have something to go on. Cuz let me tell you, making up prices for stuff as a DM is like the worst thing ever.
Yep. Like, how do you even decide?
Yep. Because the ranges it gives you in the DMG is ridiculous. And we'll talk about that someday. But
Good there. Um, so medium armor, there's hide armor, which is like thicker tanned leather. And I think there's yeah, it's like furs and pelts and stuff.
Yep. Underneath,
There's a
yeah.
chain shirt, which is not full chainmail. Um, and then there's scale mail, like what you said Keli has.
Yep.
Overlapping pieces of metal. That's why it gives the disadvantage on stealth.
Just
Um,
sounds like a bunch of spoons.
oh, would like that.
I want to get
And
her a breastplate at some point, but we've been stuck
yeah,
in this jungle for forever. Like there's nowhere to get a breastplate in the
I
jungle.
was gonna ask someone. Maybe it'll have to wait for another day, or maybe we can do a talk back sometime on Mistwalker stuff. Because I wanted to know why you have to be there for 40 days. I must have like
Oh, we thought
fallen
that we were
asleep
going
at
to
the
have to
end
be
of an
there for 40 days, but I don't think it's going to be that long because we basically the last time that they did this trial that we're in, it took 40 days for the trial to complete because everybody either has to die or make it to one of the shrines. But I'm hoping it doesn't take that long because the bagman, like when we left off this last time around, the bagman was literally climbing out of the bag of holding. So hopefully that's
That's
like
true.
the end of it. Because let me tell you, a magical blight that messes with your magic when you're trying to use it is awful. You like, yeah,
Uh,
you can cast your spell, but it might do more damage than good. So it's terrible.
best of luck.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, breastplates are nice because they don't give you disadvantage on anything. It's like a fitted metal chest piece, like a gladiator.
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
And then half plate.
yeah, half plate's like what it sounds.
It's like
Half.
your chest, your shoulders, your arms, and I think a helmet.
Uh, does not include leg protection beyond simple greaves that are attached with leather straps.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, most of your
Then we
body,
get
not
into
quite all of it. And then
heavy
heavy.
armor. Yeah, it's the stuff that like will protect you the most regardless of what your dex is.
It's your
Um,
typical knight's armor, really. Like that's
yep.
how I always see it. It's like when you see in movies that like, Sir Lancelot, that's what he wore was full
Yes. Yeah.
was heavy armor.
Ring
Um
mail, chain mail,
yeah,
splint,
which is what
and
X
plate.
would I think
Flaxen, yeah.
Alexian wore that, yeah.
Yep.
I
And then
should know
full
this.
plate, which
I
is
did the art. I would know this.
full plate. I think is what well is not I think is what Vic has in
Mhm.
Carbrew. Haha.
Yep. And then a
Yeah, full
shield
plate.
also
Full plate's
counts as
like
armor.
the full like visored helmet, knights
Yeah. Yeah, for
whole
sure.
situation.
It's the suit of armor that you see standing in the hallway in every castle ever.
And yeah, a shield adds 2 to your armor class, regardless of what it is.
Yep.
You just have to be proficient.
And then yeah, and then it
Oh,
sort of
the
moves into weapons,
yeah. As a note, there is a table that tells you how much time it takes to get into and out of armor.
yep.
Now, if you're that kind of DM, you can use that. Um,
Mm. And also you get like disadvantage on your so like if you're rolling for exhaustion, you get disadvantage on that if you sleep in your armor
oh yeah,
because it's obviously not comfortable to sleep in that. So that's when, you get attacked in the middle of the night and you're like, "Oh yeah, no, that doesn't hit. Oh wait, I don't have my armor on. Crap,
I have
that
my
does hit."
armor.
um,
Um, yeah, weapons. Weapons are the next section. I like the weapons part. I wish
mhm,
there were more weapons in here, or I wish there
yeah,
was a way, easier way to figure out
what's what?
like what another kind of weapon would be.
Mhm.
Um, guess guess it's kind of like that, but
Yeah, I mean,
there's a
for that, you kind
club.
of like if you're using it to like bash something in, obviously that's going to be strength. Whereas if you're using it
Right.
to maybe cut something, that would be more finesse or dex.
Yeah, but then it depends on what kind of knife it is too, or like
Yep.
what kind of sword.
Yep.
You want I think it would be interesting to have like this has a club in there.
Hmm.
It would be very interesting to me to have like a blackjack if you're familiar
Yep.
with what that is.
Yep.
It's like
The
um
thing that you like they used to use to how do you even describe that? It's I
it's
always
like
picture
if
it
you've
like it was
watched
an old school cop weapon for like a long
kind of
time.
yeah, it's almost like a baton, but it's like leather and a little bit flexible, and then there's
Yep.
like a ball stitched into the end, like a lead ball or
Yep.
something. Um, it's what she uses in Sherlock Holmes movie that has Robert Downey Jr. in it.
Okay.
Um, if you've ever seen that, the woman that's his love interest, she's kind of a thieving type person. She has like a hand knife and a blackjack kind of weapon.
Okay.
And I always feel like that would be almost like a club, but more finesse, because it would take more dexterity to wield that
Yeah.
kind of a thing then. I just wish there was a better way to like guide you in figuring out how you wanted a different kind of weapon.
Yeah. Yep. And they have it broken down into melee and ranged weapons as well, too. So, and then as far as like if you're proficient in there's simple weapons and martial weapons, which I always struggle remembering the difference between a simple and a martial weapon. Like things that I would assume is a martial weapon is not necessarily because I
Yeah.
guess I don't know.
I think
Does it say in here what the exact difference is? Because I don't actually know.
mm,
I don't think so.
I feel like a simple weapon is something that most anyone would know how to use.
Yeah, like a pitchfork. That's a simple weapon. A spear.
Whereas a martial weapon is something that requires more training.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense, I guess.
Like a great sword, you might need to have been shown how to use it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
Proficiency with a weapon allows you to add your proficiency bonus to the attack roll when you attack with that weapon. Um, and then some of them have certain properties. So, like, if you're using a ranged weapon, that ranged weapon is going to have ammunition. And it's going to be a certain number of shots. So, like a crossbow, sling, any of that kind of crap.
And
Um,
any of those will tell you what the range is.
yes. Hmm. Um,
There's a short range and a
and
long
whether or not it
range.
has the loading property too,
Yes.
because that makes a difference for like how fast you can fire that weapon. There are some feats that you can take that allow you to ignore the loading property,
Right.
so you can just attack every round. Otherwise, it's like you attack every other round.
Yeah. Some of them also have like a two-handed property, or
Okay.
if they're a heavy weapon, they
Yep.
require
Versus
a
finesse. Yep.
certain size.
Yep. Like small creatures have disadvantage when using it for a heavy
Yeah.
weapon.
I like that though.
Um,
Well, I guess it depends.
finesse. So when you use a finesse weapon, you can use either your strength or your dex modifier
Hmm.
to attack with. I always picture that like a staff. I think is considered versatile, isn't it? Or is considered finesse?
Um,
Or no, wait, no.
it is versatile, but it's versatile means
Something different. Yeah, finesse is like
you
a
can use it
dagger.
one-handed or two-handed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
finesse is
Finesse
considered so
means
a
you can use yeah,
dagger, or I think aren't what are the funny looking swords, rapiers. I think those are
yeah, finesse.
considered finesse. Um,
Scimitar and short swords can also be used with dexterity or
Yes.
strength, either one.
Mm-hmm.
A whip also
Yes.
can
Mm-hmm.
choose.
Whip's cool as far as like a weapon choice. Like they don't do a lot of damage, but they're kind of cool. Like
Yeah.
RP wise, they're
Yeah.
an interesting choice.
It gives you reach too.
Mm-hmm.
You can hit farther away.
Yeah. And then it'll
Still
also tell
be
you if your weapon
yeah.
has what's called the thrown property. So like a dagger, you can like huck a dagger at somebody.
Yeah. You
Um.
can throw a trident.
Yep.
It's
Yep. Let's see. And then
also
it talks about improvised weapons. So improvised weapons is always fun for me because there was a time that I asked Affy to make an attack roll with an improvised weapon, and neither of us could remember what the definition of that was because we are like, yeah, I know how to do that as a DM. And I think it was because
like
they were using something that wasn't actually a weapon. They were using it as a weapon. Like it's like if you hit somebody with a chair. Like that would
yeah.
be considered
Yeah.
an improvised weapon. Or
Improvised
like
weapon.
you break a bottle and you're going to use that. That's an improvised weapon.
I'd say if you use the leg of a chair, it's a regular club. If you use the full chair, it's a great club.
Yep.
And that's what I'm going with. Just on a whim.
Yeah, so it's like whatever is on hand that you attack with.
Yeah.
So it says that broken glass, a table leg, a frying pan, which I love, a wagon wheel, or a dead goblin. You attack a person with another person. That's an
Another
improvised
person.
weapon. um
Yeah, like a table leg is akin to a club. Yeah, exactly.
yes. Yep. Similar option and then proficiency bonus or not. So an object that bears no resemblance to a weapon deals 1d4 damage. So, you know, say you hit somebody upside the head with a pie. That's obviously not really anything. It's going to do 1d4 damage.
Might also obscure their vision,
Mhm.
depending on how well you hit them.
Yep.
Uh, it does also go into silvered weapons.
Yep.
Um, so the game that I'm in on Saturday mornings, one of the first uh, kind of quests that we had was to hunt down a hag that had convinced a man to buy this like special dagger to save his daughter. But it really just like turned his daughter into a monster, which was super sad. But um we like went to chase down this hag, but all my character had were two short swords. And hags have certain like resistances and immunities, and so we had to get a couple of us that were martial characters had to get our weapons silvered so that we could do any damage, basically.
Mhm. Yep. One of
Some
the
creatures.
character in so Anise in Legacy of Fire, she is currently like a were panther or
That's
some a were
right.
jaguar or something like that.
Yeah.
And like they're immune to non-magical bludgeoning and stuff like that, but silvered weapons would hurt. So, and then it talks about
Um,
special weapons. So like a
yes.
lance and a net are considered
Yeah.
special weapons. Nets are cool. I don't see them used that often, but they're pretty cool.
No. But tell you what, when they're used against you, they're a pain in the butt.
Yes. Now I have a vision in my head of someone with a pie crust in their hair, gravy dripping down. Nice. Yes.
As honestly, you it would obscure your vision. Get hit in the face with a pie. I'm just saying. Add it. Wizards of the Coast added as a special weapon. The next thing
Exactly.
we got to get into is adventuring gear, which is still kind of in my mind, falls in the realm of weapons because it's like ammunition, but also like spellcasting focuses.
Yes.
It's something that allows you to cast a spell without having to use material components unless they have a gold cost.
And also, this is where you can have fun with your role playing stuff, like
Hmm.
where so when I roll for my gold, like when I roll for my starting gold, this is the chart that I'm looking at for all of my starting nonsense because this has got basically everything you need. Like, and Maggie too does the same thing with their character. I know. They will like buy just random stuff like fishing tackle and things like that. So, and you never know when that crap is going to come in handy. Like you
Oh
buy it
yeah,
as a joke at the beginning of the campaign and it ends up saving your life somehow. And you're just
you end up
like,
stranded in the middle of the ocean. You better have
yep,
fishing gear. Uh,
exactly.
there's also, yeah, like other adventuring gear. There you can get antitoxin, you can get acid. My favorite is the bag of 1,000 ball bearings. It only
Yep,
costs one gold piece. Never know. Like you can see, like try to listen for how far down a hole goes.
yep.
You
And
can
make
spill them
difficult
out to like
terrain.
trip up bad guys. Yeah,
Yep.
great.
One of the my favorite things that I've ever seen a person do with their starting equipment was the DM gave them a magical item at the start of the campaign. So they picked a bag of holding, which holds, is it 400 pounds of equipment or something like that? It's like
Something like
it's got a
that. It's
specific
a
weight.
lot. It's like
So
four or
what
five
they
hundred, something
did
like that.
was they filled their bag of holding with candles and they used the spell catapult on the candles and that's how they did their damage because catapult, it doesn't matter what you use for catapult, it does a
Yes,
certain amount of damage regardless. So they were just hucking candles at people the entire campaign. Like it was amazing. Like
it's freaking hilarious.
it was crazy.
Also,
It's like
good use for ball bearings.
exactly.
That's a projectile. You might have like it's like a musket
Yep. Yep.
without the gun.
Um
Um, I love that there's a barrel in here. Just a barrel.
yep.
Need a barrel? 2 gold pieces.
So I
Bell.
I had an idea for that would like use a barrel for equipment. So I want this is one of the character ideas I had. A grung druid who uses a barrel as a backpack because then at night they would just dump everything out of the barrel and use create or destroy water and fill the barrel with water and then sleep in the barrel of water because they have to be submerged for an
Have to
hour a
be
day.
submerged.
So
That's so funny.
that's what I would do.
So freaking funny. I love that. 10 feet of
Um
chain.
yep.
It's on here. It's a chalk.
And so like it took me way longer than it should have to figure out what block and tackle was. Like it's
Isn't
it's
that for
it's how you
that's
lift
for
things.
scaling, right?
It's
Oh
like
yeah, yeah,
lifting
yeah.
things.
It's like a lever.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It took me way longer than
I
that to
guess
figure
we
out
do
what it
use
was. It's a
them in
set of pulleys
sailing.
and cable. And I was like, "Oh, okay." Um,
There are kits in here that also contain various things, like a climber's kit
yep.
contains mittens, boot tips, gloves, and a harness.
Yep.
And nice.
Keelay's got a
So,
healer's kit, which has got like bandages and stuff like that,
yeah,
basic salve, things like
it's
that.
worth it's worth looking at what the kits actually have in them because, like for instance, this climber's kit
Hydrate.
says you can use a action or use the climber's kit as an action to anchor yourself. When you do, you can't fall more than 25 feet from the point where you anchored yourself, and you can't climb more than 25 feet away from that point without undoing the anchor. So it's a way to avoid fall
Falling off a
damage.
cliff. Yep.
Yep.
Hydrate, by the way.
Ooh, where's my
Um,
water? I ran out of cider. One moment.
Healer's kit. So that's got bandages, salves, and splints. And also it has a certain number of uses. So like it's not just a one-time use
Mhm.
thing. Like a healer's kit, there's 10 uses in it. Some of the other kits have, certain things in them, like a mess kit that's got it's a tin box that
Yeah.
has a cup, simple cutlery, like camp tools, that sort of thing. Um there's
Um,
also like
and foot pole,
poisoners kits and forgery kits and those kinds of things.
portable ram.
Yep.
Group has that all the time.
And then it does, so like
Like
in that section it does also give you what the equipment packs are. So like if you don't want to roll for your gold, like if say you just want like a standard adventurer's pack, it gives you options for that. So like there's a burglar's pack, obviously, that like a rogue would probably want, diplomat's pack, a dungeoneer's pack. The most common one is the explorer's pack that I've seen a lot of
Mhm.
people, because it's got very basic, well-rounded tools in it. Um but it gives you, so like for an explorer's pack, that has a backpack, a bedroll, a mess kit, tinderbox, 10 torches, 10 rations, and a water skin. And then there's also 50 feet of rope, which is just, very basic stuff.
Yeah.
So manacles, I believe Maggie always brings manacles with their characters. Like I'm pretty sure that they always have a set of manacles. And then
Only good on
it gives you
smaller, medium
lamp options too, which is kind of cool. So I've never used the bullseye lantern, but I know that it gives you, like, there's your standard lamp, which is just like it gives you 15 foot of bright and then 30 feet of dim. But then there's also a bullseye lantern, which casts it in like a cone.
Hmm.
And then there's a hooded lantern.
Which
So
you can kind of like, still the kind of like you can strict like how
yeah.
much light comes off in what direction.
Yep.
I like that there's a whole section for container capacity,
Yes, exactly.
but also it is in empiric
Yeah.
measurements. So if you don't use gallons, sorry.
Still doing
Uh,
conversions.
no, I don't know. I prefer to use biblical measurements. Uh, ancient measurements. Um, we haven't talked about the tools yet, have
Nope,
we?
not quite. Those are going to be your like your specified. So some of the backgrounds will give you a certain like toolkit that you can use. So like the charlatan, I think you get a forgery kit with that. Some of them you get a healer's kit, or you get herbalism kit,
Symbolism, yeah.
poisoner's
And
kit.
the kits do different things as well.
Hmm. And they have them listed out like what's
Uh,
in them.
the herbalism kit, I think you can make
Basic
deduction and healing
potions.
potions.
Yeah, basic potions with them.
Um, why is the herbalism kit under gaming sets on here? Silly. Alchemist supplies you can use to
Because it's
make alchemist
alphabetical.
fire, I believe.
It's listed alphabetical.
I have it in up in D&D Beyond because I didn't bring my book with me, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
under gaming sets.
That's weird. Huh.
Like in the categories, the herbalism kit is listed under gaming sets.
Weird.
Um, I had a. This was not a player character. This was an NPC in the game. I had a shopkeep, like a merchant, who was an excellent glass blower, and they would pass little. They would like blow little glass orbs that had spells in them.
Okay,
So
nice. You
they
just
had
throw them.
like little glass poppers that would do like prestidigitation.
Yep.
Um,
That's like Reggie's bug bombs. They do poison
yeah.
damage when he breaks them.
Um, I think they did like just a set 2 piercing damage if they actually broke on something.
Hmm.
Or then I had some very intuitive folks in the campaign. Well, not a campaign. It didn't really last very long. But in the particular game that I was running, they used those little prestidigitation poppers to discover I had hidden a gelatinous cube. It's disappointing and impressive as a DM
Right.
that you
You're
give
like,
someone
it's
something
always
that you think
great
is
when your
stupid.
players figure out a way around something, but also you're like, oh, I really
Yep.
wanted you to walk into that.
I was really hoping you'd just face plant to the side of this orb or this ooze, but
Yep.
she found it anyway. It attacks you.
Next, it talks about vehicles and mounts.
Yeah,
So,
which
like,
can be very handy, like especially if you're paladin
mhm,
or um like folks who have like the sailor background or something, having that efficiency with water vehicles
yep,
can be really useful. Like that it shows the carrying capacity
yep.
for the different mounts. That's fun.
I like, so one of the campaigns I was in, the halfling had a mastiff with a saddle.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that was pretty cool. It also talks about like the different so there's carriages, carts, chariots, saddles, that sort of thing.
When in doubt, get a chariot.
Yep. Water vehicles are like boats, so galley, keelboat, longship, rowboats, that sort of thing.
And those it
Um,
tells you the speed as well.
yep. And then it also talks about trade goods, which, like, depending on the kind of campaign you're in, those either don't really get used that much or they get used all the time. Like, there's usually not an in between. So, it goes a little bit into expenses. So, like living wages and that sort of thing. So, like, if you're, you know, if you like to be extravagant, it's obviously going to be more gold per day to survive than it is like anything else. But most of the time, people spend so much time like roughing it out in the woods that it doesn't really matter. But it's good for like downtime.
You know what I've never used is hiring a vehicle. That
Yeah,
would be
I
fun to
forget
do.
that it like exists half the time.
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause even like, I guess you think about it maybe most for like ships or airships,
Mm,
but like you could take a cab kind of a thing. Like there
yeah,
are, like the
wagons and things like that
uh
in town.
yeah, yeah, like caravans travel to different places, makes
Yep,
sense. And it does talk about spellcasting services.
yep. There's another.
And then the trinkets. I
It
love the
doesn't.
trinkets. I wish there were more trinkets.
So in here it doesn't talk about it, but in one of the other books it talks about as far as services goes, like hirelings.
Oh yeah.
Like you guys
Oh
at
yeah,
your in
Granipards.
Fixius, you guys have a house Carl who takes care of
Yeah.
your house that you pay for. So and a
Yep.
stable
He's
boy who looks after
currently
your yard clouds. So
they're hiding inside the house right now.
with your yard clouds.
The sheep.
So yes, the trinket table is
I
the final thing
love
in
the
here.
trinkets
I do too. It's amazing. You just roll on here and you're
because
like,
they're
yes.
so weird.
Hmm.
And who doesn't want just a weird thing to carry around?
Right? Tiny silver
Like
bell without a clapper.
vial of dragon blood. I want to know that story. Why do you have a vial of dragon blood? Where did you get it? How did you find it? Surely you level 1 wizard didn't kill a dragon all by yourself. How do you have that? Like,
Right? Where did you steal it from? um yeah,
oh my
some of
gosh,
them are
that's
pretty good.
funny.
A black pirate flag adorned with a dragon skull and crossbones. It's good.
There's an
The last
For those who are familiar with Curse of Strahd, an empty wine bottle bearing a pretty label that says "The Wizard of Wine's Winery, Red Dragon Crush." That's great.
brass orbs etched with strange runes. Yeah, like some of these are pretty great. So,
Half of a
dead
floor
scarab beetle
plan
the
for
size of your hand.
ooh.
Candle that can't be lit. Like some of these would be fun. Like if you know
Could
that
be
your
fun
player
magic
has
items
them.
too, right?
Yeah, like if you know that your player has these and like it's something that they obviously like don't think about all the time,
Yeah.
to tie that into their story somehow. Like I'm the kind of jerk that like some of the items that I know that my players had at the beginning of the campaign are going to matter later down the road. Like
Oh,
so
interesting.
and I think that would be fun to sort of tie those like the random item that they have
Yeah.
in. So that's why you guys ended up with spinach puffs in your campaign. Like
This is sort of, well, it's not unrelated to this. An idea that I always thought would be fun too is like as you level up as a character and like things you can do and the things that you own become more powerful and more magical,
mhm.
something else that you have also becomes more powerful and magical. Like, what if you had a gold coin minted in an unknown land and you find out at session like 72 that actually like, because it's been in contact with you for however long session 72 is,
Mhm.
that it has like absorbed some of the, like, it's also been the places you've been.
It's like
It's
Reggie,
absorbed some like strange, yeah, exactly.
because Reggie
I think
was
it would be
just a
cool to
rat.
just have a mundane item that did that.
Reggie
Like
was
you
like
have a sword
literally a
that you
rat.
like. Yeah.
And now he's a
Like
level 1 artificer.
you just have like a sword that you like or a ring you always wear or
Mhm.
like a small cloth doll skewered with needles or whatever and it just becomes magical eventually.
Yeah, that was the whole thing with like with Reggie was like he started out as just a plain rat that was living inside of Ram, and because Ram when they rage, they're they're the path of the wild
Magic.
wild science, and so like we had reskinned wild magic,
Hmm?
and so I'm like, well, he's constantly being exposed to this magical surge. Of course, that's gonna change him. So
Yeah.
he's become like a level. He's a level 1 artificer right now. Like
Cute.
he's just a little guy.
It's got to be smarter than 12 or 11.
I
Right?
have to update his character sheet.
Oh,
I haven't updated his character sheet in a hot minute because I just haven't had time. But yes, so I'll do it one of these days, and then like Affy will actually look at his character sheet and be like, "Oh my god." But
oh
yeah,
well,
Teenage
that's
Mutant Ninja
equipment.
Reggie. Yep.
Did it. It's only been 2 hours.
Yeah. I love how we
Remember
started
that?
this. We were like, it's gonna be 60 to 90 minutes.
Yeah, it'll be
Bet.
great. It's 90 minutes. Well, we tried.
But yeah, I think next time we'll talk about feats
I
and
love feats.
yeah, and then eventually we'll get into spells, and spells is going to take us a while because I want to go through them like probably
Yeah.
section by section because some of the spells are crazy what they can do when you start getting into upper level spells like wish and things like that.
We go by levels, or should? Cause I don't know. Maybe it depends.
They're
You
in
know, in the
alphabetical
player's handbook,
order.
they're in alphabetical order.
Yeah. We could go by class because I
Go
know
by
there's
class.
the list in the beginning of that of the spells
Yep.
which talk about
Classes.
classes. So,
We could go by class. We could go by school of magic.
yeah.
I'm thinking about all the ways I can also narrow it down on D&D Beyond.
Mm,
There are ways to sort the lists there. As long as they're still in the PHP. I'll have to look at that, but
yeah.
have options is all I'm saying.
Yep. So yeah, that's
Well, on that
probably
note,
a good place to leave it for the night. I'm
yeah,
not sure if anybody is up that we can raid. Give me 1 second here while I check. Entertain
Duckburg
folks.
on. Duckburg is on, and Sweet and Lore, and Transplanar RPG. All of those.
Oh, sweet. Let's go raid
I
Sweet
know
and
it's
Lord
dinner
because they
time.
raided us the other night.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Raid.
Call.
Is it Sweet N like the letter N?
Letter NLOR.
Lore. Okay. So everybody hang tight. We're gonna go raid them and give them some love. We're Affy and I are actually gonna be playing a game with them next month. We're doing it's called Battle of the Bags. It's basically capture the flag but with bags of holding, and I'm really excited about it. So I'm here for it. But I'm gonna stick us
I
on
love
the outro
how
screen and then we'll go.
I just want to everyone to take note of the fact that when the sun was still out, this ring light that is like 5 feet away from me looked like normal lighting. Now that there's darkness, I look like a ghost. I'm
Also,
coming, OG.
somebody singing the song of their people.
OG, she's hungry.
Okay. Well, I'll put us on the outro screen and we'll go raid then. So everybody
She
stick
is.
around for that and we'll see you when we see you. Bye.